rate known. And we are going to start with our Village of Armada regular council meeting. And we'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Zelke. Here. Clark.
Here.
Coleman.
Here.
Woollett.
Here.
Baylor.
Here.
Cooper. Here. Shaw.
Here.
Sorry.
What is the council's wishes to approval of the agenda, please?
Mr. President, I'll move that the agenda be accepted as presented.
Support. Supported by Clark. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. At this time, the floor is open up to citizen comments. If you want to state your name for the record in 3 minutes, please.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Sweeney. I own Scroll Away Books and I live over on Fulton. After assuring us at the last meeting that we discussed this at, that the council is not hostile to business and asking for business input, I was a little surprised to see that the language in the sidewalk sale ordinance that's in your packets is the exact same as it was before. These restrictions will make it impossible for businesses to have sidewalk sales, not just me, but for everybody. That and the language is overly vague. Whomever drafted this left a lot open for interpretation. Enforcement is left to the police, who I'm sure have better things to do. I've talked to my customers and my neighbors, and there's a perception that council doesn't really listen to their constituents. They all agree that everyone that I've talked to thought that you have better things to do than legislate about sidewalk sales. You have the opportunity tonight to change that perception. I urge you to vote no on this. I would invite you to be pro-business, pro-community, and listen to the people that you represent.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Arthur Simpson, Peach Street. I can't stand.
That's okay, sir.
Okay. To be perfectly clear, started off to be general comment. I don't know enough about the trail project to be for or against it. Since I live at the other end of town, the impact on myself is going to be minimal. So that's not my purpose, what I'm going to say. Purpose, what I'm going to say is that once rules and regulations are passed by this distinguished council, they shouldn't be amended or exempted or whatever term you want. The purpose of these rules and regulations was to keep this from being Armada from being a subdivision of Detroit. So please take that in consideration for any amendments or adjustments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Frank.
Brandon Salem's business owner, also resident of the village. Reading over within your packet, the new policy on sidewalk sales. Some concerns come up, one being the insurance concern. We're going to be waiting and holding council, or the village of Armada, not liable during the days that we have sidewalk sales. Well, that's a huge cost on businesses depending on their insurance policy. Every time they have to add and take away and have their policy endorsed, can be up to $25 an endorsement. Some do it for free, some charge $25, but it's every time we add you on and off. My next question is has anybody really looked at the insurance part of this going, we have benches and poles. I mean, the chances of someone tripping over a sidewalk sale table versus the bench that's sitting right there is minimal. I mean, it's the same, kind of the same idea. Things in the sidewalk, there's a chance people are gonna trip. So you're asking us in those days to hold the village non-liable, but what about the rest of the year where we're liable because of the benches out there? You know, somebody trips on the sidewalk in front of my business, they're not gonna come after just the village, they're gonna come after me too. Whether it's your bench or my sidewalk sale table, they're gonna come after us. And you're asking us to hold you harmless during those days and sign a waiver and give you a waiver. Now, if you want a copy of our insurance showing our limits and things like that, no problem. But to be endorsed on our policy, to hold you harmless because we're putting a table on the sidewalk, I don't understand the logic on that. Plus the cost of it. I mean, every day we do that, say I want to have 5 sidewalks, I called my policy today, it's $25 every time I want to endorse the village on that for one day. That's $125 in a year. Sidewalk sales are just to bring people in. We don't make money off of those objects. Usually they're discounted. It's to bring people in. And also, if we can get more businesses do it, more people come into Armada, which is better for everybody. I mean, more people who come to Armada want to live here. They see the community. They see the businesses downtown. It's a package deal. It should be us working together with the council, not being holding the council harmless on the days that we put items for sale. I mean, we've been doing sidewalk sales for at least 28 years that I know of, and never had an incident or problem. I'm not sure why all of a sudden we are focused on charging to get a permit, holding council harmless if someone gets hurt during a sidewalk sale. There's more chance of somebody getting hurt on the benches that are out there all year round than a table with stuff. And then having sign regulations that even go against your sign ordinance. It doesnn't make sense to me, and I just would like some clarification and some thinking on the policy. I have no problem with the sidewalk sale policy. I really don't. I don't think it's a bad idea. That way we know what we can do, and we can work with council so that it's a productive thing. But what's on paper isn't productive. It's basically hands off. We don't want to have anything to do with the sidewalk sales, and we're making it almost impossible for businesses to have them. It doesn't make sense, because at what point, now you want us to hold you guys harmless? Well, what about the benches and the garbage cans in the middle of summer that you walk by and it can go back and forth. I mean, we maintain the sidewalks all winter long as requested. We don't. Dennis lets us know, We know the rules, we know the regulations. It's plain and simple. But there's not a charge, we're not holding harmless. And again, if you want to see articles of corporation and insurance, fine. But requesting us to put you on your policy and holding you harmless, because we put a few items on the sidewalk, seems a little harsh and a little steep to the point where it's going to make it physically impossible for businesses to do something fairly simple and that's pretty harmless, that we've been doing for many, 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 many years and really never had a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm Kathy Bowen, Armada resident, live on Spencer Street, and I just read the sidewalk sale ordinance. It's far too extensive. I think it's ridiculous and unnecessary. There's never been a problem, and I really hope you vote no on this ordinance.
I'm Jason Verlinde, 22605 West Main, actually live in the township, but member of the community for many, many years, and a small business owner in Richmond. And was asked by a friend today to kind of read over the sidewalk ordinance and was a little surprised. Again, like others have said, why now? Is it a huge problem? Do you guys have people calling, complaining all the time that you're having these rowdy sidewalk sales and people are getting hurt? And then also to chime in on the insurance, Brandon is correct. $25 is the minimum charge. Some companies will charge up to $100 to add that additional insured. And what a lot of people don't realize, when the village is on as additional insured, if there is an incident that happens and you both get drawn into a lawsuit, the business owner is splitting their limits with the village. So think of how much liability you guys have on your village insurance policy, and then you have squirreled away, you might have $500,000 of liability. The moment they put the village on as additional insured, and if something happens, it cuts hers to $250 right off the bat, because that person who's suing is going to be fighting over one bucket of money that's going to pay if she's liable or if you're liable. So I just would, as a small business owner, I understand it's a hard go, and especially anything that they can do in this town to get people in and to help them out and help them stay in business, I think is a good thing. And I see this ordinance as hindering that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Matt Beeman. I'm the president of the Armada Area Chamber of Commerce. And our membership, basically, as a group, we would like to say that we would appreciate a no vote on the sidewalk sale ordinance. There are members that, and other business owners in the village right now that are basically, if this goes into effect, it's going to restrict them enough to where they're going to let their business go at the end of the lease. We've already lost K&A on the corner due to whatever reason. We don't need another empty business in Armada. And this is going to lead to that. You're going to lose more businesses. And we don't need it. We need more here. We need a friendlier environment that creates a happy place where people want to visit and it looks like there are things going on. We need signs, places showing that their businesses are open and we're welcoming to the people that are coming to the community. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No one else, so we're gonna go to, there's no presentations tonight. The next would be administrative reports. Building department, you have that in your packet as such. Liaison reports, West Main Street project update will be presented also. Sewer and water connection fee rate increases, planning commission meeting minutes of March 14th, 18 also. So what is the council's wishes to the administrative reports?
I have a report.
Okay, that's Bart.
I just wanted to say that the 2018 Armada Jam schedule is set. We have 9 concerts from June 13th to August 8th. The first one is the Armada High School Chorale Group, June 13th. And June 20th, we have a band called Bookends. It's a Simon & Garfunkel cover band. It's going to be cool. June 27th is Killer Vibe. That's a local, it's rock and roll. July 4th, which is our potluck, we have free hot dogs and stuff in the park. It's a kid band representing a nonprofit. I think the name is Ground Zero. I don't have all the details yet, but I'll have that soon. July 11th is Sweet Tea. It's a rock and roll group, Armada based. July 18th is Freeport. Everybody knows them. July 25th is Wayward Wind, another perennial classic for us. August 1st, somebody new. It's Bill Bynum and Company. They do country, which has been a request for a long time, but it's really hard to find a country band who'll play for peanuts and blues. And then August 8th is Armada Soggy Bottom Folks and the ABA event with the foods and the gifts in the park. So I'll have flyers ready later this week. I decided not to apply for the 4-county grant again because I didn't see that it was a good return on investment for the money spent. I've raised the payment for the bands from $200 to $300 because I had many people last year tell me no, wasn't enough money. Like 10 years ago when we started, it was basically getting paid to practice in the park for $200, but now that the economy's better and they're getting gigs in bars, they're not interested in, I don't blame them. I ordered the porta potty for the season and I'm happy to report that the cost is the same. The program pays for this. I submitted the unique sign application to the Planning Commission at their March meeting and it was approved. So with that approval, it gave me the go-ahead and send the sponsorship letters out. So I sent 53 letters out today. I'm hoping all the regulars re-up and that we can fill our fence again. So just got to clean the park and then we're ready to roll.
Sounds good, Sam.
Thank you. Eddie?
Stop snowing. That's right. It has to stop snowing.
Any other liaison reports, council?
The well's up and running, that is all set, that's up and running, ready to start running.
I guess it's about a week earlier,
Yeah,
which was good,
yeah.
because we surely need it in case of emergency. Of course, 6 will be going for some potty repairs also.
Right.
And but I'm very pleased to hear myself that they really did diligently do it a week ahead of time. So, anything else, council?
I have the sewer and water connection increase I'd like to talk to Jeff about. I mentioned it to council last meeting. Right now, we have a connection fee of $500 per connection on the water, and for the sewer, it's $1,359. And what I want to bring up is we ran into a situation that found out the township hall wasn't tied in. So we got them tied in, and the fee of $1,359. Well, we had to dig into the road, which we were digging in our road over here, which is a terrible road. But I could see the situation. We have some open lots here and there that we might have to dig into a totally new road. And this would not cover putting that road back. So I'm just wondering if somehow, some way we could make some kind of formula or some kind of ruling that the road be put back the way it was. I don't know, what are your thoughts, Jeff?
I don't think you would want to, I mean, the connection fee, if I remember correctly, that was really
To cover the
the
parts and
investment that
labor.
everybody else in the village has
Right.
paid for over the years. So I'm
Right.
not sure fixing the road, but I would think just off the top of my head, requiring that if it can't be, situation where they bore under the road, and they actually have to cut to get, I'm assuming on the other side of the street, which can happen, because utilities are usually on one side or the other.
Right.
I definitely think we would require restoration. But
just
you're right,
wonder if we
Steve,
could-
I don't think it's in here right now.
Right, no, it isn't. It doesn't spell that out. It's pretty much just the parts and labor that our DPW
Right.
incurs to do the connection.
Right.
So, I don't know,
Yeah, I
if you
think,
could look into that
Sure.
and see if we've got a way of covering ourselves for that.
okay.
I mean, it may not come up again for years and years, but there's a couple of open lots here and there, and even on Spencer Street, we had to dig into that road. It had been resurfaced. Wasn't a completely new road,
Right.
but we've got a trench across it now, so.
Yeah, normally, I do know, like, I don't know if we did it here, sometimes when we do a new utility service, new sewer, they'll pre-tap. In other words, they'll put that line in, but they'll pre-tap it knowing that someone at some point may,
I mean, it's one thing when it's a new subdivision, you got all open groundwork,
Yes.
then this would be
Yeah.
perfectly fine, but again, when you run up against a fairly new road that you've got to dig into.
yeah, no, that'd be a disaster.
I do know that on South Fulton Street, we did put taps in where we had empty lots, or lots that could be split on the sewer side. And I
Okay.
think we did on the water side.
Okay.
I don't know anything about North Fulton, if there was any put in there.
I know there's a couple of lots on there now.
Yeah, and, but I do know on East Main, there was some taps put in
Okay.
as far as takeoffs from the sewer.
East Main or South Fulton?
East Main and South Fulton both.
Okay. I didn't know East Main, yeah. Okay.
So I don't know if it'd take another extra paragraph under the connection fees, or if it's possible to do it that way.
Well, the other thing too is, do we require a permit, a connection permit, so that, we cover roads, fees and things like that? Maybe we would want to even incorporate that, because either Ed or Road's gonna have to be out there when they tap the line.
Right.
So we'll have to take a look at the ordinance with regard to, there may be something in the ordinance already,
Okay.
but I don't know if it, like I said, that, as far as actually the road being disrupted, I don't recall there being anything like that.
Yeah, from what I can read in this, it
There's not.
doesn't mention it, so.
Right.
But you might want to mention too that this fee is not anything that's going on anybody's water
No,
bill. It's
no.
nothing anybody pays.
We're just trying
all
to
the time.
cover
This is
some
only for
future
new
events so
connections.
that the village doesn't incur extra costs, which we all end up paying anyway, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wallach, I do have something on West Main Street project. We've been notified by MDOT that we're going to get $11,509.64 increase to each. That's our lump sum to be used for roads, so that's good. And also last Friday, Mr. Wallach and I met with a representative from Candace Miller's office, and we talked about the culvert out here on West Main Street. And he wants to set up another meeting with Mr. Wallach and I down at Candace Miller's office to kind of finalize some plans on that. So that's what we stand on that.
And we did already get the check.
And we already got it. Well, that's good. Thank you.
It's already done, splits between local and major already done.
Good.
Well, anything we can get, like I said in previous meetings, we're here. We need it. And it will save our taxpayers. And just like this $11,908, is it?
$509.
$509, okay. I had the figures turned around. But,
Lucky
like,
figure's better.
well, yes, I do too. But naturally, we're gonna try and we're gonna push more to get this West Main Street, done with less money from our taxpayer. So if anybody knows of anyone that we can talk to, let us know. We will do it. Thank you. Anything from the plan?
No, I showed everybody the plans and
Okay. General business, approval of the regular council meeting minutes of March 26th of 18, and the payment of bills. What is the council's wishes, please?
Mr. President, I'll move the consent agenda be accepted as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Old business, sewer plant update, Mr. Clark.
We got a phone call from Chris about a week and a half ago. The boiler expansion tank had sprung a leak. So it was throwing things off because it wasn't the correct pressure. And they had CJ Moncano come out, give us a quick quote. It was for $1,700. I signed off on it, and they're gonna work on it in the next couple days. So,
Very good.
just one more thing down there.
Thank you.
Yep.
New business. Sidewalk sales policy. What is the council?
Marv, I'd like to just say how this all came about. I was on the planning commission at that time, the representative from the village. And there were complaints about sidewalk sales, came to us, and then at first they thought they wanted to have a letter go out to all the businesses downtown from Marv and probably from Dennis, but I talked to Jeff about it, and I said, what do you think's the best way to handle this? And I think the main complaint, if I'm not mistaken, was it wasn't always very good to get through. And that's what I took to Jeff. So, I wasn't trying to get anybody's insurance up. I don't really care myself how many you have. I'll care if you have them right now. But I do care that people can get through. So I just wanted to give the history behind this thing. I mean, nobody here wanted to do this necessarily. It came as a result. Just like you're here, put in input, it was other citizens that gave us input that they would like to see us do something.
Okay, thank you. Nothing else on it?
I've got a question. In lieu of what's been mentioned out in the audience with the insurance, would it suffice that a business showed that they had insurance? That they wouldn't have to do a separate insurance to hold us,
Yeah, well, let me just first say, I think there are some people that are, maybe not, to say that no changes have been made is really, it's not accurate. I provided counsel, and I hope members of the audience, we did provide a marked up copy of all the changes that were made. So maybe if we could just start with the application. The application literally would take probably 10 minutes to fill out. And to Brandon's point, yes, it would be burdensome to go to your insurance company and ask for that endorsement every time you have a sidewalk sale. This permit is good for a year, so you're only going to need to go to your insurance company once and basically add the village. It's not every time that you have we're not asking you to come into the village every time. The application, you basically identify all of your sidewalk sales events for the year, and we only ask for three things: the indemnification and hold harmless, and I'll get back to that, the certificate of insurance with the additional insured endorsed on it, so one time, that'll cover you the entire summer, And then we even got away from, I think we called it a site plan. All we just need is a sketch. You'd only have to do it once unless you change your layout. So with those 3 items, one of which you'll only need to do one time, and fill out the form, and Dennis approves it. It's not the police. I think somebody said the police is taking.
It's on there.
It's on there.
It's on there. that
No,
the police-
in Dennis's absence.
Yeah,
So
No,
I,
that's not what it says. It doesn't say Dennis's absence.
It says 4.
It says 4.
It says 4.
right, we had talked about that, and Dennis was gonna do it because originally we did have it set up for council, to come to council, and people, the decision was
No, the
made.
chief has shall have the power to suspend all or
Right,
a
because
portion of the
that, there could be,
activities.
right, but that's not who approves it.
Right.
No, but that's who enforces it.
Okay, no, that's not true, okay, just let's, so, the idea was to take it off the council's plate, Dennis would review the application and issue the permit. That's it, so, again, this is not, every time you want to do a sidewalk sales throughout the year, you have to come to the village, it's a one-time permit.
And it's a no-fee permit, right?
Well, that's up to council. We basically said,
I don't think we need a fee.
No, we don't need a fee.
right, so, again, that's not my call. So really, like I said, it's a relatively simple application. You can name as many dates. The only restriction on duration is you can only go 5 days, and I think at the last meeting, somebody said, well, that's not good for the Armada Fair, because that's longer than 5 days, so there's an exception for the Fair Week, where you can go longer than the 5 days, but that doesn't mean you are limited to 5 days, that just means for every sequential sidewalk sale, you can't go beyond 5 days, you can have multiple 5-day sessions, so we even made that a little more flexible in terms of the number of events.
For example, if I wanted to do one every weekend, then my application would say like Thursday to Tuesday, every week
Yep.
through the end of good weather.
Yep.
And that's my application. Okay.
So there's really no, other than you can't go longer than 5 days for each, one of your sales throughout the season. That's it. In Fair Week, you can go longer. Obviously, you'd have to identify that on your date selected. I think Brandon had some concerns about, again, I think I addressed, we're not looking to hit you or your insurance company up every time. It would be typically, most insurance companies, you have your policy for a year. If you came in, we would just need to see it one time that you have the proper endorsement. I know a lot of people said that they felt that, this is harsh or overreaching. Again, we have done this for the special events. I mean, everybody, I think, Michelle, we've had it since 2012.
Yeah.
So that's 6 years we've had that process. This is even simpler. And we've had, I think, the Cozy Corner, we've had similar agreements where they pretty much made that an annual event. And so I don't think we're overreaching. I don't think we're asking for something that other businesses or organizations have come and said, we want to use public right-of-way. They've followed these. This is even easier, and than some of those. So, like I said, as far as cost, again, this is not an ordinance. I think somebody said this is an ordinance. It's not an ordinance. It's a policy. Council can change it. If the business feels that they can't get the insurance and they come to council, then I think it's not an ordinance that you're locked into. It's something that can change, that's relatively flexible, that you can tweak. The hold harmless, I understand that. Again, my recommendation, if council was going to give something up, it would be the hold harmless, because again, hold harmless is basically, if both parties are sued, the village would be held harmless and indemnify. Obviously, insurance is a much stronger, you have an insurance company that's representing the village, as the gentleman said. If you were going to give something up, I would, recommend the hold harmless, but I do think the insurance is essential. A lot of the comments I heard, the perspective was the villages imposing this. The village is, trust me, I don't look at the village as the one that's doing this. We have an obligation to protect the taxpayers. That is who is paying the insurance premiums of the village. So I want to assure you, this isn't, at least from my perspective, this isn't the council. This is really, we have to represent the taxpayers. And I know it may seem heavy-handed to ask for insurance, but you got to understand we're protecting ourselves the same way that you are protecting your business when you make these decisions. We have been sued for sidewalks. Everybody knows we've had. We're all a big target. It's not, I don't think, an adversarial thing. I think small business is a target. We're a target. You can be sued. Everybody knows that. That's why you buy insurance. It's the smart thing to do. In this situation, the moment you step out the front door of your business, you are in public right away. It's not a strip mall. It's not these other situations. It's public right away. And for that reason, we have to protect the residents of this village and minimize the risk to them. If we don't do that, we're not doing our job. So, just let me go real quick on the changes that have been made from the last time. So we did drop the articles of incorporation based on some feedback received. We dropped the requirement for the site plan or map. Based on some information Ben brought us about the zoning ordinance, we did tweak the language on banners just to make clear that you didn't need to get a permit. Ben said that that was not necessary, so we eliminated it. There was apparently a number of people do protect their merchandise with a tent, so obviously if we don't allow tents, that's not going to work. So we basically said the portable tent or canopy is permitted as long as, you don't encroach upon the clear path that everybody, I think, from my observation, everybody agrees we need to have that. So the tents and the canopies are allowable, so that was a change that we made. We eliminated the letter from the property owner or landlord to grant permission for the sale. Again, we did address expanding the sales during the Armada Fair. The rest of it are pretty much common sense rules that are set forth. And the suspension and revocation is very, very similar to the special event permit. There may be situations where the chief of police has to act, and it just makes sense that if he has to clear an obstruction in the public right of way, he's the best person to do it. That's the only reference to the police that's why the chief is referenced in there. So, Mr. President, that's it in a nutshell. I think we tried to address everything. I'm sure there's some things that still maybe seem a little bit heavy-handed, but I think I've addressed most of them.
Can I ask a question? Because number 2 is under no circumstance when he's signing advertising sidewalks will be permitted to be placed anywhere in the public right of way. Does that mean that they can't have a sidewalk sale sign?
Under our zoning ordinance, we do not allow signs in the public right of way. So, again, I don't think we can violate our own ordinance by allowing signs.
They could put it on their building, don't they?
Yeah, well, again, as long as it complies, that was Ben's point, as long as it complies with the zoning ordinance.
Aren't like sandwich signs allowed? Yeah, I'm confused by that.
Yeah. Well, my point is, if the sign complies with the zoning ordinance, it's fine.
Okay.
The signs I'm referring to is where you tack onto the telephone pole, sidewalk
Right,
sale this
okay,
way. That's-
okay, all
Those
right.
we've never allowed.
Okay, all right. Did you hear?
So that is 5 articles that have been changed or deleted. So nobody can say that anything was not changed.
Plus, that was the second version too. There was a previous version that was the
Prior
30
to.
days.
Yeah.
That was
I
way.
think you can you might want to ask if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, there's some people.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brandon, do you want to be first?
You want,
It doesn't matter, but Jeff, the reason I want to clarify something is you're asking us to put the Village of Armada on our insurance on an annual basis, okay? You're asking us to endorse a policy, right, you're right, I can endorse you for the entire year.
I'm not asking for the
My
entire year,
insurance
I'm
company
just
isn't
saying.
gonna look at the permit and go, oh, it's only for this day, this day, this day, this day, this day. Every time I have a sidewalk sale, you're saying I have to have insurance that comes to the village. So for that day, I have to say, okay, on June 1st, I'm gonna have a sidewalk sale. I call my insurance, okay, I'm having one on June 1st, so on June 2nd, remove the village of Armada. Okay, I'm having one on July 4th through the 6th. Okay, I'm having one, they charge me $25 every time they do that. Now, you're asking, the other thing you're saying is you only have to have it endorsed once a year. That means that I'm putting the village of Armada as a permanent endorsement on my policy, and no business in their right mind is ever going to do that. None of them will do that. You're talking special event program, which is completely different. There's a whole set of insurance for special events. So yes, if I was holding one big event where I was expecting 500 people, then yes, I would get a special event policy for that day. Or like if I was a nonprofit doing out on the corners, I would get a policy specifically for that time frame. But what you're asking us to do is put the village of Armada, that would be like me coming to you and saying, okay, since you're on my policy, I need to be put on the village's policy all year round because you got those trash cans out there, you've got the benches out there. If somebody trips over that, the village bench, and trips over that on my sidewalk, they're gonna sue not only the village, but they're also going to sue me. So, and what you're asking, okay, fine, then you need to put my business on as an endorsement to the village policy too. I mean, what you're asking isn't feasible. If you want us to do, show that we have the limits, the proper limits, and get you a copy of the insurance, absolutely no problem. But we're not running a special event. It's not a woo-woo, we're gonna have people on stilts or standing in the road. We're putting a table out front with a couple items to bring people into our business. I mean, it's a little different than when you shut down the road, and I completely understand, in those cases, you do need a special insurance policy that's for that particular day, for that particular event. That I get. These are tables on a sidewalk with some items on it. It's not an event. So our policy, we couldn't say it's a special event where it's on it's part of running the business.
I know, Brent, I understand that, but the risk is to, again, think of it from the village's perspective.
I am.
Well, let me finish. So, in the special events policy, we've never had anybody, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, we've never had somebody come in and say, I can't get this, or I can't insure you. Just let me finish. The cozy corner, there's never been a question. He's never said, oh my God, why would you ask me for this? And the point is it's the same situation. It's village property. You're asking to take an activity from inside your store, putting out on the sidewalk, and you're saying, if something bad, you're not gonna get sued. It's not your property. That's the problem. Brandon, trust me, if somebody trips on the sidewalk in front of your house, you see people getting sued? No, the village gets sued because it's the village's sidewalk. It's in the right of way. It's no different. I'm telling you, I've seen one occasion where in 28 years of practicing municipal law, I've seen one occasion where a homeowner got sued on a sidewalk and it was dismissed in short order because the property owners, their homeowners said, it ain't ours, okay? It ain't ours, so dismiss it. 1 in 28 years. So I get what you're saying, but you're mixing apples and oranges. The village has the liability. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We are the ones who are responsible for that sidewalk. And we have consistently said, we will work with you, use it. If it helps, great. But you can't ask the taxpayers when they're sued because someone trips at a sale or falls over or gets hurt, we're gonna be sued, not you. I guarantee it, you will not be sued. So what would you have us do? Basically say, make the taxpayers write the check? I mean...
Jeff, I'm not going to...
I know you're not asking us to do
over insurance and what checks that I write right now because of the village and decisions that were made. But in this case, what you're asking us to do is, if we were running a special event, I completely agree. If you could call a sidewalk sale, if every business at Armada was running a sidewalk sale at the same time, you could probably say that was a special event. That is a separate insurance policy. I can completely understand. But by showing you that we have our limits and showing that if something happens, that if it's deemed the business's fault in a case of a lawsuit, yeah, absolutely. The first thing that attorney's going to do is name anybody and everybody who could possibly, now granted, you're right,
That's
some
not
of them
true.
might be dismissed,
It's not,
but
I'm
they're still
telling
gonna
you,
name them.
they are not. The first thing you're gonna do, Brandon, I'm just telling, I'm not trying, I have never seen a homeowner sued for a sidewalk. One time I saw it. One time in 28 years. Because you're not liable, it's not your sidewalk. So what I'm saying is, you are asking the sidewalk sale, great event, I'm not trying to pour water on it, I'm simply saying, who is gonna bear the risk of an injury? And right now, it's going on the taxpayers, and the taxpayers will bear the burden of the lawsuit. That's all I'm simply telling you. I'm not saying, there's nothing you can do other than say, for this sidewalk sale, I understand that if there is an injury associated with this event, that the village shouldn't have to bear the burden of that. Because the sidewalks are not intended for commercial uses. They're not. And that's all we're trying to do is, the same way when we shut down for special events, streets aren't necessarily intended for a festival or things like that. So it's really the same principle. I know you say, well, the scale is different, but from a liability standpoint, there's no difference. There just isn't. So that's why we're asking for the insurance. I'm willing to, I'm sure we can check out and try to see if we can minimize the expense. Again, I'm not familiar with your insurance companies. Most of the times when we ask for additional insured, the agents fax it over, they prepare the declaration, they fax it over, and we're ready to go. That's been our experience. I'm not saying that I know every one of your situations, but it really hasn't been that big of a deal. It really has not.
I used to process additional insurance for a very, very large commercial insurance company. That was one of my jobs. I used to process 200 to 300 of them a day. When we charged them $25 every time we put an additional insured on a commercial policy. $25. It had a specific date range, that from this date to this date it was valid. Once that date was over, it was done and over with. So, you're right. I've seen it a million times. But what you're asking us to do on an event that we made lucky, if as a business, you might get lucky and make $25 on a sidewalk sale. I mean, really. You make make $25 on a sidewalk sale. They're not huge things out here. They really, I mean, they used to be when everybody did them 25 years ago. But now, no. I mean, it's just a way to bring people and draw people in. Just if I were to take a stand and put balloons out in front of my store. Are you saying every time I want to put a stand out with balloons on it as an attraction that I need to get a permit to do that?
I don't think that was what we were asking to do.
But what I'm saying is, if you look at the sandwich sign that's sitting out there, or if it's a table, if it's not in the right of way, or even, I hate to say it, a flower pot, just to make the buildings look pretty. There's somebody who's going to trip over. I mean, there's a chance they're going to trip over, or the garbage cans that are left out there, or the benches. I mean, I'm not saying we're covering the sidewalk and not having people be able to walk through. I'm saying I agree with you. I know there's always a chance, and that's why we have insurance. That's why we have insurance, that's why the village has insurance. I'm saying to you, have you, in the history of Armada, has anybody filed a suit or been injured because of a sidewalk sale? Not because the sidewalk was cracked, not because they weren't, I know there's a myriad of things that...
I'm not aware of it happening.
Exactly.
But well, that doesn't mean it's not gonna happen.
No,
Have we been
but-
sued for cracks in sidewalks? Burn roads? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, we're gonna, again, but the difference, Brandon, is if they're sued because of a sidewalk sale, again, it's on the village. It's the only point I'm trying to make. And I'm not trying to give business up. The reality is, the village is taxpayers. It's not this board. That's who has the financial risk.
I understand.
So
I live
please-
here.
We're
I know,
taxpayers.
I get that. So, you please understand, we're not doing this to try to make sidewalk sales go away or anything. We're trying to minimize the risk that the village has to
I
defend.
understand though, but
You know,
as the policy
I
written,
know
as it is,
$25
it
is
will make them go away.
burdensome, but our, $40,000 in legal fees is burdensome, And that's what, we've had occasions
And
where,
we have had an occasion where an individual put something on village property. An accident happened, the village was sued, not the individual that put it there. It
Because
cost
he
the
didn't have
village.
insurance.
'Cause
Yeah.
He
I
didn't want to
have
show
a
it, he said he
question.
had insurance, but would never
Yeah,
show it to
never
us.
proved
I have
it.
a question for Jason, since he is a businessman in Richmond. Do you know what their policy is in Richmond? Do you happen to know? Do you-
I actually looked at it very quickly on my way here. It's not as lengthy, it's one paragraph in their ordinance. I do not believe they need to have a permit or even show their insurance. It does have a setback, like you guys were talking about, and it's 5 feet, where I think you're, in this ordinance, is saying 6. And just real quick, what Brandon was saying with adding the village and taking it off and adding and taking it off, you're correct, you can add it and leave it for the whole year, and it would cost $25, $50, $100, or whatever. But if Brandon has an attorney on retainer that's looking out for Brandon's best interest, just like you're looking out for the taxpayer's best interest, that attorney would tell Brandon, don't do it. Because then it's on for all of those days that he's not having that event. So Brandon's right, the correct way to do it is to put it on and take it off and put it on and take it off, but then it does get very costly.
Can you do it for a specific purpose?
You do it for a specific person. Then you
So
may
you
be
can
able to
put-
talk to your company and say, we want to add the Village of Armada on as additional insured for the times that we are having sidewalk sale.
Correct.
You might be
Have
able
you ever seen it? I've never seen it without a
Well,
date.
I mean, we do it for contractors, where we say for use on this particular project, and it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have a start and end date,
Right.
but it's assumed that once the project is over, the additional insured is no longer
Yeah, I
valid.
haven't seen it for events,
But-
for projects, for buildings, for construction, when it can, because of weather or something, a week or two or even a month can get extended, that I've seen. But I haven't seen it for a special event policy.
And again, the frustration, and it's no different than the local electrician who's a one-man shop that's trying to make a living doing some work for Home Depot. Home Depot has $100 million of insurance, and they're forcing this dude to pay $100 so they can get 250 grand from his insurance. It doesn't really make sense. It's kind of like, you guys have it and you pay for it.
yeah, but we don't.
No, I understand that.
Residents pay for it.
Sure, that's
Just gotta
true.
make sure that,
No, I get it. You're right.
And also, he's not doing something extra on Home Depot's property where people could get hurt as well. It's not on Home Depot's property.
He's doing work on behalf of Home Depot.
Correct, but he's not actually putting out his product.
No.
Correct. So it's a little different than that as well. But they can do it for a specific purpose, which can be cited in their insurance. So they can do it once, have it during the time period of summer, safe specifically during the sidewalk, for the sidewalk sales only.
Yeah,
$25.
So like
an
an
hour.
I wouldn't be able to answer 100% true on that. It'd be
Right.
something that your agent would have to talk to the company.
We do it at the schools.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So you think it could be done
Yeah.
for all their insurance? It'd
It
be
can be
like
done
an addendum
with the
for
school.
that period, time period.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, on
that's
the occasion.
one
Again,
company that
schools-
she's doing it with.
Schools are
so
different than
I don't
small
know.
businesses, that are different than large businesses. I mean,
I
the
would've-
insurance company,
I would have did some research on that, but I didn't think of that.
Right.
What
And
Brandon-
it's a
No, I
matter of
understand, I just thought.
what
you
is a
might-
regular use for, what a school does, what a regular use is. This is part of our established business practices. I'm a taxpayer, one of the things that I pay taxes for is to be able to use the sidewalks. I have to shovel them, I should be able to get some use out of them that'll bring people into my business. But to have me to assume this amount of responsibility for the village's problems, I might be a little less touchy about it if the village did something about the cracks in the sidewalk that have been in front of my building since they went in. But they're still there, they're only getting worse, and the village hasn't done anything about it, and they were told right away. So, there's that.
If you, I guarantee you tomorrow we will have Ed look at, if they're that bad and they need repair, then.
Well, I'm just saying, it's just a regular part of life is that you walk down the sidewalk, sometimes you're gonna have to look out where you're going. Regular use for the sidewalk is that a business in any community, not just ours, might have a business that puts stuff outside, which looks nice and inviting, and it's kind of the cost of doing business of a community to encourage that. I just was up in Port Huron. All the businesses had little tiny pinwheels in front of the businesses, all up and down the street. Looked nice. We can't have those because it's a wind-driven item or a festoon, whatever that is. And so it's hard for us to make these decisions about what can I do, what can I not do, because the answer is mostly don't, just don't. Maybe just keep your head down, don't do anything. The way this is written, the portable tent or canopy being the temporary structure that's allowed, as long as it stays 6 feet from the curb.
No, it just
written-
can't encroach in the clear path. It's
Okay,
not ambiguous, come on. We
But
talked
it
about,
is.
no, it's not. We said that the tents are allowed as long as they don't encroach in the clear path.
Okay, but then you have the clear path width of 6 feet is measured from the back of the curb. So that's from the back of the curb to
That's the clear path, so you can put your tent over from the front of the store to the clear path, the boundary.
But if that's gonna be way more than 6 feet from the curb, because those tents are largish. So if they go up to 2 feet, but if I keep 6 feet from the curb clear, then the tents are gonna overhang a bit.
Honestly, I can't dictate what tent you use to cover your, the idea was to not have the tent encroach on the clear path. I mean, I think the gentleman is here tonight and said, the only thing I ask is that I be able to navigate safely through the clear path. That's all we're trying to do.
And my wheelchair is wide from 2 feet.
Yeah, no, I think the tents, it's a doable thing. I think it's a good change. It made sense when it was brought up that you have product, you want to keep it dry, and it's just we have to allow people to use the sidewalks for what they were intended for. The worst thing is as Chief Patrick can say, is forcing people into the roadbed. That's when you have interaction with cars and cars trying to park, and that's not good, particularly with somebody who's not stable on their feet.
Could we get clarification in the policy regarding the tents that they can go over the clear path? Because the way it says right now is they can't block the path. Well, technically when they go over it, they are blocking it, but
Can they go through?
they can still go, nobody wants to block the sidewalk. No one here, none of us want to block the 6 feet that is allowed.
I just think it's, at least to me, common sense that the person's trying to navigate a wheelchair or, and it's,
Agree with you 100%
and
on
they're just,
that. All I'm
for them
asking
to
is for
try to
clarification.
navigate around a pole that's encroaching in the clear path is difficult for them.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
the pole shouldn't be in the clear path. We're asking
But
for
does it have to be
clarification.
from the curb or can it be in the middle?
There has to be a clear path. The tent can't encroach on the clear path. So really, those are types of things that Dennis will resolve. I mean, I don't think it's something that I can predict what every tent is going to be like. You know what I mean? The idea, I think, is very clear. Don't encroach so that we have a clear path for people to navigate, both pedestrians, wheelchair-bound people, whatever it is. That's all we're really saying. And I thought the idea that I took from council was, as long as the tent and canopies don't encroach in that 6-foot clear path, we're good.
And what I'm saying to you is, I agree with you. Is it possible in the policy before it's approved to make that a little more clear within the policy so that it's not a situation once the policy goes into effect? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, no, if it can be made more clear, I'm open to that.
It says from the back of the curve.
With the angle parking up there, sometimes you lose about 2 feet because the car's bumper overhangs, so that cuts you down to about 4 feet.
So the secondary question is, where it says that you can't have anything in the parking areas, does that include private property parking areas?
No, this has nothing to do with
Okay.
private parking. This is public.
Just for council's reference, we have some dimensions here on your map. It shows the width of the sidewalks. They vary from 13'5" in front of Chaps down to 9 foot in front of the old CNA by the subway.
3 foot.
So they're all different, and that's from the back of the curb.
Quite a difference there.
I mean, no matter what, it appears that there's probably enough room to put a table up against the building and still have clear viewpoint.
Well, it's similar, like Cozy Corner, we had them move some of the chairs in that roll back, so we got 6 foot.
Right.
It's like the light pole was in the way. They had to maintain the 6 foot area.
My other question would be, if you're wanting them to list on their insurance that to add the village for, you know, whatever dates that they have scheduled throughout the year to do like a sidewalk sale, and they turn in these dates every year. The weather is unpredictable, so I'm having a sidewalk sale this weekend and it snows and the village guy comes through and throws a whole bunch of cones down and somebody trips over and falls. I didn't have my sidewalk sale, but the village is off the hook because I was supposed to and I didn't. You're asking them to take on that burden even when it may not actually be there all year.
Yeah, I'm not asking anybody to do anything. I mean, we're not asking them to do it. In that scenario, you know, if there wasn't a sidewalk event, you're not liable. Again, you're not going to be sued. If you trip on a sidewalk in the village, you're not going to be sued as the business owner. It's public property. I'm just telling you, I can't say it enough times. Homeowners are not the ones that are going to get sued. The village will be sued. It's our property.
Again, Jeff, you're talking about homeowners, we're talking about businesses.
I'm talking about anybody next to public right of way. It's our, we're the ones on the hook.
The hold harmless agreement and asking us to put you listed as an additional insured, the village listed as additional insured, with a hold harmless agreement, you are basically taking all liability away from the village at that point in time. You're saying we have no liability. So I could have a sidewalk sale that day and someone can trip over the green bench that's in front of my store. But because I did a because of that permit, I am liable at that point in time, even though that bench is not mine. That, you can't sit there and say, well, it's not the day. They're not gonna do that. They're gonna look at it and say, well, you have a whole harmless agreement, and you've listed them as additional insured. You took on the liability. You're the one who signed the contract. It's your fault. You signed a whole harmless, and you put them as additional insured.
The lady who spoke there last, what was your name for the record, please?
I'm Anita Bednar.
They trip over our beds.
Thank you.
They're not gonna sue him. We're liable. The village is liable.
Not if I sold, not on those particular days, if I sign a whole harmless agreement and I have you listed as an additional insured, anything happens on that sidewalk, those days that I'm having a sidewalk sale, I'm liable. They're not gonna differentiate.
Sir, please.
Christopher Bednar, if they're not gonna be liable, is there a reason why they need the insurance?
I'm sorry?
If they're not gonna be liable, the city's gonna be liable, is there a reason why they should have insurance?
I'm not sure I understand.
No, he's saying if
We're
gonna be getting sued, why do they need the insurance?
Yeah, why would they need the business insurance?
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, if the liability's on the city, why would they need the insurance?
Because the taxpayers of villages are going to be sued.
Yeah, but why would they need additional insurance if they're not gonna get touched?
For a business.
They're insuring
Adding on
us.
their
They're gonna sue under, we're gonna be named.
So they would have a policy for the insurance that they're paying for, and a person who sues isn't gonna go after them as a policyholder? I'm not sure I understand. Because my understanding is someone sues, they're gonna go after the policyholder, in this case it'd be the business, that's correct? Because of the policyholder.
I'm not sure who they're gonna sue. I'm simply telling you.
They're gonna go over the policyholder, correct? If you get in a car accident and you have a policy, you're gonna go after your insurance, not gonna go after.
You gotta remember, we're allowing, you know, again, you agree it's a public sidewalk, right? And we're saying,
no,
take your commercial activity, put it on the public sidewalk, right? and we're gonna cover you in case, you know, the village is gonna cover any liability that arises from that commercial activity in the public sidewalk, right? That's what we're doing with the sidewalk sale, right? Now, if that happened in your building, you would have insurance, right? You'd buy insurance because inside your building, you're liable, okay? So the risk that the village is taking on without insurance or without it being named an additional insured is to
Yes.
protect us.
But well, I guess what I'm trying to understand is then why are they shoveling their own sidewalks? If they're not, if they're going to be, I mean, if my understanding, what you're telling me is if it snows and slippery, then that's the city should be clearing the sidewalks of the businesses, correct? Because that's who's liable at that point.
No, unfortunately, that's not how it works. The state law is very clear that, and, you know, again, if you've been in the village an extensive period of time, you know that why are you, when the sidewalks are replaced, why is there a deal that it's 50-50, okay? Because again, the state law said that you were responsible, there's a benefit to a sidewalk, and you must clear it, and you must pay if there's gonna be repairs to it. I'm not saying that's a good law, please understand, I'm not advocating that that's a good law, that's just the way it's always been.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Could I ask you a question, sir?
Yes, sir.
I know you're concerned, but...
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand.
But are you also a business owner here in town?
I am a township resident, and given the fact that I'm also part of the Chamber of Commerce, I'm a trustee, so it is part of my interest for the business owners to be here. If that answers your question.
Yeah, sure, of course, yes.
But I mean, partially, it's more
Just
of my
simple,
own.
that's all I want, a
Yeah.
simple answer, please, thank you.
But it's also my own knowledge.
Yeah, thank you. The controversies we have tonight, I see that, I think Mr. Bohorsky has done his job. With the articles that I stated already, being 6, have been changed to some extent. We can table this till another meeting, or we can go ahead and do what we can do with the policy itself and go ahead and make the motion and support if we want. So either it dies or it lives. So, does the council have any comments?
Mr. President, I'll move to table this until our next regular council meeting. The date is what?
Can I do it when Jeff's here?
Yeah.
So that'd be beginning of May.
All right, first council meeting in May.
Okay, then, motion, support?
Support. Question, what will change between now and then?
Give us a chance to sit and discuss this among ourselves and see if we
I
can.
think it'd be interesting to get some information, and maybe only you guys can give us this. We can't speak to an insurance company on behalf of you, but what does this run? How would they suggest to handle it?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I called my insurance company today, and I asked them, and they said it's $25 per endorsement. I mean, it's that simple. So
So
every
does
time-
that mean that if you said you were gonna have 10 of them, that you'd have to pay 25 10 times, or if you told them ahead of time, it'd be 25?
I can endorse the village on my policy all year round, which would be dumb. But every time I have a sidewalk sales, I would have to endorse them on, call them to have it remove it, and then I'd have to endorse them on
Then
again.
it'd be 25 each
It's
time.
$25 every time on and off. It's $25 per endorsement. An endorsement is on and off.
Okay, so you're
So if
saying
I-
every time it costs you $25 every time you have sidewalks?
No, it costs me $50
June
to
1st
put you
and
on.
Oh, it takes, you gotta pay to take it off
But,
too.
okay, on
But on the dates,
Wednesday,
he's
March
not having
14th,
it. Right.
with the whole harmless agreement, on Wednesday, March 14th, and I'm losing half of my liability to the village because I'm putting you as an endorsement on that day. So not only am I'm decreasing the amount of insurance, I carry $1 million liability, okay? by putting the village on as an additional insured, I'm giving you $500,000. So if something happens and I'm sued because of either the benches outside,
No, you
say,
can't get sued for that.
but you can. If somebody trips over the bench and
You want
hits
that bench
building-
moved?
Hell, I'll just put the order and have it gone tomorrow.
Okay, then a garbage can.
Gone.
Or if there's
Simple as that.
going at,
But you're gonna sweep the streets for us. Keep the papers off the streets, okay?
I'm already picking up.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious as a heart attack.
and then I wanna see all the damage that Semco did fixed, instead of worrying about a sidewalk sale. Why you guys are focused on that?
Semco,
Yeah, the project that just
they're
went.
not even
on.
done yet. Give them a chance.
Anyways, my point is it's very costly to endorse on and off, but it's not in the best interest of the business to keep the village as a solid endorsement. Now, Sherry, you're right, there may be a policy where you can put it on as sidewalk sales. That was not an option with the company that I was with, okay? They simply said if I wanted the village put on it as an endorsement, they would need the time frame, and that's the most common that I know of. The schools, special events, they kind of fall into their own rules, and they actually have special underwriters that handle schools. They have special underwriters that handle special events.
But that's something you can check into and let us know for the next meeting, though, right?
You know, like I said, I called my
Very
insurance
good.
company today
Right,
after
but
I
you
talked
didn't
to
check into
Michelle.
if you can do it for
Different name.
specific
It wasn't an
purpose.
option.
It wasn't an option. My option was if you want to endorse them on, how long do I want to endorse them on for? Like, that was my option.
Right.
Mine isn't an extensive, I don't have extensive policy like a school or something has. I already asked them, if I can endorse you on for a limited time frame, or I can put you on permanently. That's my option.
But Brandon, please understand, again, you know, what we heard though is that you didn't want, you know, how many sidewalk sales did you have? I mean, do you recall?
Last year I had 3 of them.
3 of them, okay.
Mhm.
So I think the problem is we tried to be more, you know, not to be restrictive, in other words, try to limit it. So we're kind of getting caught up now, we're saying more, you know, let more of them, but it sounds like that's becoming, it's
Oh.
harder to meet the insurance requirements.
It's not the insurance requirement, Jeff, it's the cost that
Right.
goes along with it. For the amount, for something that's really a fun, just daily activity, or, like I said, I had a whole 3 sidewalk sales that were 3 weekends long. Memorial Day, 4th of July, and then Labor Day, because those are the biggest flea markets, you know, to bring people in. I can tell you right now, last year off those 3 sidewalk sales, it brought a ton of people into my business, but I didn't sell one thing off the table. It's just mainly like an attraction to get people in.
Well, we'll do our best in the next 30 days. We'll try to find out, we'll do our research too and see what the industry provides. You know, it's better that, I'm glad you came, I'm glad you aired, you know, the struggles, and as you can see, we've chipped away at this, we've made progress. It sounds like insurance is
For me, it's the whole harmless and the insurance combined.
you don't want any liability.
No. At that point in time, on those particular days, you've thrown all the liability onto the business
Again,
owner.
we're
So
not-
if you removed one or the other,
I know, Brandon, but
I
we're
would
not.
be more
again,
comfortable.
We are not throwing anything at anybody. We are being asked the best way to allow this event to occur, and it's great, don't get me wrong. But we also, like I said, we have to be careful, and that's all we're trying to do. We're
I
not trying to
understand.
throw anything
All I'm
at
saying is with both those 2 being held harmless and the insurance, you really kind of, on those days, have thrown to all the, and trust me, I mean, on that day, if I'm having a sidewalk sale and somebody trips over the bench, stories, you know, you never know what's gonna happen. But on that particular day, you're holding me completely responsible for my sidewalk. Which, again, the 2 together is the dangerous thing. It's not one or the other, it's when you put the 2 together.
No, we got it. And we'll, like I said, we'll give you our word, we'll check into it. If there's another way to do it in the insurance industry, we'll try to figure it out. But please understand, we're not throwing this on anybody.
I understand.
It's
But
just
you have to
trying
understand our point too, by doing this, you may not see sidewalk sales in Armada anymore. And if you don't see sidewalk sales, for me, it's not a big draw, I'm a florist. You know, not too many people do but for a bookstore, that's a big part of her business. So is there a common ground that we could all sit down and say, okay, this is gonna work for everybody so that we can continue to have our sidewalk sales? Or is it gonna get to the point where, I'll be honest with you, if it passes the way it is right now, there wouldn't be any more sidewalk sales. And then how long before another business has left Armada because of policies and procedures?
Well, see, nobody knows why probably, maybe in this room, why the building went out of business. Maybe somebody should check.
Oh, I know exactly why Autumn and Kenny left. There was 3 main reasons.
Yeah, so.
One, the community didn't buy food from them.
No.
And I don't think if all the pet owners would have been buying food from them.
They were 90% online.
We're getting off topic. We're getting
Yeah.
off
So
topic.
like I said,
They didn't go under, let's call it a question.
And I've been told by another business, if she can't have sidewalk sales, she is letting her lease go in the fall.
well, like we've said, that this will be brought back in a month's time.
We gotta vote on that.
There's a motion.
You gotta vote on that motion.
There's a
Lyle
motion, there's a
made
motion.
Yeah, Lyle made the motion. Table it, the first meeting in
You
May.
gotta call for a vote. They table it till the first meeting of May.
Okay. What is the council's wishes, please?
You already made the motion.
Yeah,
All in favor?
Lyle made
All in
the
favor.
motion.
Oh, you made the motion. Yeah, sorry.
But
Okay.
there's not been a vote.
Okay, so you got an individual vote?
No,
Yeah.
it's all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And let's see, next is the appointment of the planning commission. So we have Mr. Johnson. is it?
Simpson.
No.
Simpson. Well, it's going to fill the vacancy, and so the thing is, we're up to
That would fill our board.
This would give us 5.
filling our board for a long time. So, good thing you came forward, Mr. Simpson.
I'm trying to make a difference in this community.
So what is the council's wishes, please?
Mr. President, I'll resolve to comply with the President's recommendation to appoint Arthur Simpson to the Planning Commission to a term ending December 31st, 2018, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Chapter 2 of the Village Charter.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Welcome, Mr. Simpson.
Welcome aboard.
Hey, thank you. We've been trying to fill that for a few years.
Next is the police commissioner, approve acting pay for part-time police officers.
Yes, Chief is here to address the council if you have any additional questions. Officer Jeff Gentner has been filling in quite a lot for Mr. Jimmy Sharp, who is only working 2 days a week. It's put quite a large backlog on Chief himself and the other officers. Mr. Gentner has been taking on additional responsibilities quite often. I believe Chief said from the beginning of the year he's had 28 cases already from January till now that have required detective work. With that, we would like to have an increase in pay for Jeff Gentner to help compensate him so he can keep doing the detective work, to take it off of Chief's shoulders, and to help Jimmy actually get closing some of these cases and the additional footwork. Is there anything else you want to?
That's very well stated. And if the council decides to do this and approve it, the increase for Officer Gentner would be a cost of about $4, or would be $4 a week, compared to as if Detective Sharp worked his 4 days a week that he used to work. He used to work 4 days a week about 2 years ago. He cut it back. Officer Gentner stepped in. He's assuming the responsibilities when Detective Sharp isn't here. He's done a great job. For minimal cost, we can have a detective 5 days a week.
Are we calling him a detective? Are you
No,
No title, just.
He'll be performing those duties, but yeah, there's no official change in his title.
Okay.
And how much cost, chief, is that?
It'd be,
An additional $2.
yeah,
So
Going on what to what?
He's going from $16.50 to $18.50.
But only for the, just so you know, Dave, only for the hours that he's doing detective work.
No, actually, it'd be when he works, because majority of the time he does do detective duties intermingled with all the other regular work. It'd be really hard for chief to segregate exactly how much time he was doing to each one.
Yeah.
right, like Detective Sharp, he'll be on road patrol, he'll write traffic violations, and then he'll do detective work, so.
So this will be to the, basically, his schedule basically. When Jeff's in, then he gets paid the 18.
Correct, yes.
Make your motion.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve the acting pay in the amount of $18.50 per hour for Officer Jeff Gentner for the Armada Police Department.
Support.
Hold on. Acting paid $18.50 for Jeff Gettner.
Yes, for Officer Jeff Gentner for the Armada Police Department, effective immediately.
Effective immediately.
Mhm.
And did you support that?
I do, yes.
Here's the verbiage from.
Thank you.
Here.
Thank you. Yep, I'm good.
Been moved and supported. Any further discussion? I'd like to have a roll call on this.
Cooper?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Ballard?
Yes.
Belkey? Yes. Clark?
Yes.
Conan?
Yes.
Wallach?
Yes. Motion carried.
Coming in.
We're going to
They
go
see
with
you all.
Thanks,
Good
Chief.
night.
Problem.
with the backflow preventers. Mr. Clark, your department, please.
Yes, we had the backflow preventers inspected last month. It was found out that 2 of them are bad. They need to be, we need to fix that. We need to have 2 new backflow preventers installed. And we got a price here from EMS Plumbing and Heating for a cost not to exceed $3,225. So with that being said, I resolve to approve the proposal from EMS Plumbing and Heating at a cost not to exceed $3,225 to remove and replace 2 backflow preventers.
Support.
Are you taking that out of the sewer replacement fund or out of sewer fund?
That's the best way.
I think I'd rather take this, because this isn't part of the S2.
Right.
So I think I'd rather take this right out of the sewer receiving
Okay.
and leave the replacement fund to cover the items in the S2.
Okay.
Sewer receiving?
Yeah.
You don't need that part of your motion, do you? Just clarification for yourself?
No, I just.
Okay, all right.
Yep, I'm in.
Been moved and supported. Any further discussion? And have roll call on that, please.
Clark?
Yes.
Ballard?
Yes.
Belkey?
Yes.
Conan?
Yes.
Wallach?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Motion carried. Salvage title inspection project.
That's mine.
Joe, yes. Just a
We had
sec.
this actually, when we approved all of the other budgets and adopted them, we just didn't come through to get this single page, so it wasn't actually identified individually. It is the budget for the current fiscal year, 2017-2018, for this Armada Village salvage title inspection. Is there any questions on the budget? I mean, we've completely reviewed it, so it's not like we never saw it before, so.
Wish they all looked this good.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2018-2019 salvage title inspection fund budget as presented with a projected surplus at year end of $427,433.32.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
It's gotta be
Let's
roll
roll.
call.
Gotta be roll. Ready?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Cooper?
Yes.
Ballard.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Bullock.
Yes.
Conan.
Yes.
Oh, wait, no, I missed it, hold on, sorry. Belkey.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next is the approval of a bank resolution to move funds. Joe?
This is pretty much the same as what we did on the last one when we were offered a very good interest rate at Fifth Third for moving to the savings account. And they have extended that for our commercial municipal accounts to move some of them back over to some or all, how many we choose to do as we can, over to Fifth Third, and I'm thinking that's our best option to move it where we can get some money on it.
Did we get any letters or anything from them to say that they will not come after us for those fees once we do that again this time? Because we were getting pretty exorbitant fees last time.
They're not gonna guarantee they're never gonna.
Well, it was the time.
It was bad. It was bad.
It was
I
during
know
the
what, that's why we
foreclosures, the
moved.
banks weren't getting any interest, and they tried to recoup, and I had one of the bank executives sit in the office today, or last week, and actually apologized for it and said, we wish you could have made it different, but it was the sign of the times that they were trying to make some money, and they lost a lot of business over it.
Right.
So I don't think they would do it again. There's no guarantee on anything. Where we're at right now, I mean, they're not giving us any guarantees that they won't ever have fees either. So I don't think anything should give you that kind of a guarantee.
Right, but we're not getting any at Lakestone right now.
Not right now.
Right.
But they're not offering us the interest rates that we're going to.
Now, what's the council's?
I will move to adopt the bank resolution to transfer bank accounts from Lakestone Bank and Trust to Fifth Third Bank.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call on that, please.
Conan.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Belkey.
Yes.
Cooper.
No.
Ballard.
Yes.
Bullock.
Yes, motion carried.
And they are providing all of our opening stock at no cost to the village.
All the what?
Our opening stock, all of our
Oh,
checks, deposit
Oh,
tickets, and everything, at no cost. Deposit stamps, even. So,
Here, I'll take yours, so I can put it in the packet.
Where's my page here a second?
Second page of the first one.
Yeah, I got it. Next is the up and coming agenda items. Is there any?
For the next one.
Why don't you put the
If
sewer,
not-
why don't you put the
Well,
sewer
I
plan
think
on? 'cause
Well, sewer plan in West Main
Stuff
Street.
happens.
Something
Okay.
else for fix.
And then at this time, the citizen comments are open again to the floor. To address the council, state name, and you have 3 minutes for the record, please. Yes, sir.
Robert Abraham, 73610 Floral Street. Just something that I've noticed, I've been here for about 4.5 years, the garbage services around here. We have 3 garbage services that come through this town once a week. 2 trucks from each service, garbage, recycling. With our roads being in the shape they are, you got 6 of these heavy haulers coming through. From every community I've ever lived in, they usually contract with a service. I know when I first came in the community, I get it that Howard's was in town. A lot of people were loyal to Howard's. Now that he's retired and moved on, we got another company that some people like, some people don't like. I'd like to maybe see the board bring that up and say, hey, let's contract with a service. It's gonna save us money as residents, because they're gonna send trucks out here to do all our garbage. They're getting all the money instead of 3 different services. So we're gonna get savings from that, and then instead of us having to get another bill from another company, you guys can bill it through, I've had it billed through my water bill, I've had it billed through my taxes. So that's one thing. And another thing I've noticed, back to doing the sewers and the waters through the roads, I've noticed that a couple of the places that have been done, like I said, I live on Floral Street, I don't know, I believe that's what was done on Floral Street down by the DPW, was a line was put through the road, it was filled with rock and dirt, but it was never asphalt, and it's getting to the point where there's almost a pothole there now. It's an upside down speed bump every time I gotta come home every day. So that's something I think that needs to be addressed with the DPW to fix these properly in the first place instead of leaving them pre-filled, unless there's something that needs to be done now. But it's been like that, I wanna say, for about 2 months now.
Are they working that line?
Yeah, they're working on it.
Is that something that's being worked on?
Yeah, I know it's on the list. So.
Okay.
And in regards to the garbage haulers, we tried to consolidate things a number of years ago, and we got a resounding no from the citizens. They wanted a contract, they wanted their guys, so we tried it a couple times.
Well, like I said, when I knew about that, that was because everyone was loyal to Howard. Howard's no longer around anymore, so maybe that's something maybe we can bring up, maybe get some discussion on it and see.
No, it makes sense. We ran into trouble before on that. For one, if we had this, we'd have to put some kind of a millage to pay the trash haulers.
No, not necessarily millage.
Excuse me. We would have to have some way to recoup that income. Second of all, a lot of our citizens in town, me, I contract, but a lot of our citizens use the dump. We're all township residents, but some of us, like yourself, are also village residents, which a lot of them use the dump for nothing, so they won't buy into paying an extra mill or a couple mills if they're doing this for nothing now. That's just what we ran into before.
Understandable.
But you're right, there is 2 or 3 different, over time, and it seems like that's a business that somebody gets into, then it's not all that long that it goes to somebody else. I've had, up until I got Waste Management, I've had many carriers over the years.
Yep. And I use Waste Management as well. But what you say about the mill, and that might be something we need to look into. But every place I've lived before Armada, it's always billed. So Waste Management comes to the village and says, "We're going to do your trash and recycling service for this amount of money for every resident." You turn around, you divide it by however many lots or houses are getting the service, and you put that number on the water bill or taxes for the year, or however you want to do it. It doesn't have to be a millage for something to be brought up, but
it would be a charge.
Yeah, it would be a charge, and you can make that charge to the resident, as we're doing right now.
And some people would say, "Hey, I'm already getting this for nothing. I'm not going to pay your check."
Absolutely. And I pay right now. My rate actually just went up another $3. I'm paying $43 a month, and through Waste Management.
Well, also, sir, local services is doing Howard's work. Apparently his brother took over out of Dryden.
Oh, okay.
See me after.
You may want to check that.
But that might be a service
I'll
we'd
tell
be
you
interested in.
how you could cut that Waste Management down, way down, because I did it. I'll tell you after.
Okay. Yeah, I just got my 3-month statement again, and it just went up, and I'm like,
"Hey, see me after."
Talk to me after.
Yeah, see me also about that.
Okay.
Because I had, man,
Can I jump in on that one? Anita Bednar, I am township trustee. I actually was just appointed in January, and I dealt with that very same thing. It was one of my first things I dove into. Because I'm looking at our budget for the year, and we're the ones that, the township is the one that flips out the money to the trash company that does the dump site. They raise their rates again. Every year they're raising their rates. This year they're up to $70,000 for a year just to have a dumpster sitting out there. And so for me, it was, this is insane. Why are we doing this? Why are we taking the taxpayers' money and forking out this money for something that's coming every 2 weeks. It just doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
But when I tried to go down the avenue of getting a contract with a company to get them to come out, it was, they wanted to charge $300,000 a year. And I
Okay,
can't increase us that.
this is gonna be a private conversation, we can't do that. So, anyone else would like to address the council as a citizen? Nobody? Council comments?
I've got one. In lieu of everything we have going on at the sewer plant, I'd like to reiterate for the citizens, that stuff that says it's flushable, please do not flush it. It doesn't, it goes through our pumps and it plugs things up, and just put it in the trash. So thank you.
Anyone else? Community events? Anything coming up in the community we want out? If not,
We're having the Armada Area Chamber of Commerce Tweed Ride, is that May 6th?
May 6th, Sunday.
what is that?
It's the Armada Area Chamber of Commerce second annual Steampunk and Tweed Ride, where we meet down by the granary and ride bikes.
Bikes in Victorian clothes down the bike trail.
Where do you go to?
Last year we went to Richmond, this time we're going to the bridge.
The trestle.
To Romeo.
Yeah, and then we'll come back and have a picnic.
What date is that?
May 6th.
May 6th.
The Sunday. The Sunday
Right.
before Mother's Day.
Very good, thank you.
Rain out day the week after Mother's Day.
There's no closed sessions tonight, so I'll entertain a motion, please.
I'll so move.
Mr. Conan, Ms. Belke,
What's the time, Sherry?
the time?
8:34.
Yeah, 8:34.
Sorry, I'm counting on you to do that.
All right.